Hello, my name is Joel Heibloom with Mr. Mold Inc.
And I'm Greg Weatherman with Aerobiological Solutions.
And today we're here to talk about crawl spaces. We've had many conversations about crawl spaces in the past, and we know that they can become nightmares for the homeowners.
And crawl spaces can bring a lot of misery or make a bad situation worse.
On one of the houses here, as you can see, we're in beautiful, sunny South Florida. A lot of times when we are talking about problems that are occurring in a house, it's not one source that's causing the problem, it's identifying all the multiple sources, because for all intents and purposes, you could have 2, 3, 4, 10 different sources attacking a property. And in this case, a lot of them are stemming from the crawl space.
Soil is the source of where a lot of mold and bacteria comes from. And if you'll look at this crawl space that we have here, you'll see the common 6 mil plastic liner material is degredated.
The crazy thing is about an old property like this is that if you have condensation on a property that has plasterboard is not as revealing as drywall. Drywall wets, you can actually see it in days. You can have the evidence of the activity there. What tends to happen in my experience is that you don't see it, so it's very hard to discover, and you can't do invasive investigative incisions when you're doing an initial inspection. And then during the remediation process, right, is where we do the invasive work to be able to get into these exterior cavities, the interside wall cavities, to confirm the hypothesis that the IUP has mentioned on the report. It's very important to be able to work together. And the reason we want to emphasize and focus on that is because, especially with houses that don't reveal that easily where the problems are, we know that in the industry, a lot of invasive work is done in the process of investigation, which is a big no-no.
Well, it's not against the law, but it's just
common sense.
Common sense.
Yeah, common sense.
If you make a mess, you promptly clean it up. If you can't promptly clean it up, you shouldn't make a mess.
Yeah, so in other words, you should have the controls in place. So back to this crawl space situation, the solutions are going to be in another video, another story. But we want to be able to identify that if you live above a crawl space, I think it's important that when the investigation takes place, that everything is taken into consideration, especially when there is the relative humidity that's elevated, when you have the land that's pitching towards the house, when you have cracks and different deficiencies that are allowing moisture to creep down there. So anytime that you have any type of leak, especially from an air handler, it's going to go directly to the crawl space, and the water, Greg, is just going to puddle there. And how long do you think it takes? Greg's a scientist here. How long do you think it'll take for soil to dry out?
Depends on if there's a partial vapor barrier there and a whole ton of variables that is unique to each property.
Exactly. And one of the things,
the longer the water sits, the greater the chance of bacterial growth.
Absolutely. And that's very important what he just said, is because a lot of times the science has been there for a very long time, but we want everybody to know that even though mold is a player in a water damaged building, the bigger players are endotoxins and actinomycetes.
Gram-negative bacteria makes endotoxins.
Yes, and a lot of people are still behind on the studies, on the science, and mold is just 7 to 10% of the overall problem. At the end of the day, the goal is to identify where the problems are coming from. How much would they have to pay you to live above a crawl space?
More than they're going to be willing to pay.
So anyway, guys, this is just an informative video. I hope you guys got some good information. We'll be doing much more of these modules to give you guys sound bites, experiencing with efficiencies and so on and so forth. I'm Joel Heibloom with Mr. Mold Inc. This is
Greg Weatherman with Aerobiological Solutions.
And I hope you enjoyed this.